Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to today's webinar, Unlock the Exceptional Engineer Potential, 7 Keys that Make the Exceptional Distinct from the Good with Alan Willett from our Build Your Career webinar series. My name is Scott Levine. I'm the membership manager here at the IEEE Computer Society. Each month, we host a webinar on vital business skills that will help you excel your current job and be helpful throughout your career. Before we get started, I'd like to address some housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded. You will receive an email in a few days which will include a copy of the slides as well as the recording. You can ask any questions in the Q&A box you see on your screen. If possible, please reference the slide your question refers to. Alan will answer as many questions as he can following the presentation. Also, as a new feature, as we draw towards the top of the hour, we'll wrap up our webinar, but we will stick around for extended Q&A in a virtual chat, so we welcome everyone who is free to do so. Communication, collaboration, and a clear vision for the future are just a few of the many skills that can lead to positive change within your career. Continuing to strengthen these skills by visiting the Computer Society Career Center after today's webinar. Career development is a continuous process that demands consistent work, and the IEEE Computer Society is here to help you along the way. Circling back to today's webinar, leading positive change. Sorry about that. Alan will explore key elements to successful change leadership, including communication, collaboration, and a clear vision for his future. He'll discuss topics for creating a positive culture, motivating team members, and overcoming resistance to change. He'll also examine case studies of successful change initiatives and learn from the experience of leaders who have navigated complex organizational transformations. As mentioned, joining us today is Alan Willett, an expert consultant, speaker, and award-winning author of Leading the Unleadable, How to Manage Cynics, Divas, and Other Difficult People and Lead with Speed. Alan is the founder and chief engineer of Exceptional Difference, LLC, a consulting that elevates engineers, leaders, and organizations to world-class performances. Alan works with clients around the world, including the United States, the UK, Turkey, South Africa, China, India, Canada, and Mexico, to name a few. Alan's passionate work on leadership with a laser focus on the unique challenges of leading in elevated pressure environments of high technology developments. Alan Willett has consulted to HP, Oracle, Microsoft, NASA, General Motors, Intuit, Orbital, ATK, OnStar, Cornell University, Rutgers, and numerous others. Alan, thank you for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Scott. I'm happy to be here. Let's let the slide deck roll. Do I do that?
Yep.
Okay, push to audience. We didn't cover this part. Oh, there we go. Is it on screen now?
Yeah, use the arrows on the slides.
Dang it, okay. Well, Scott, can you put up the slide, Scott?
Yeah,
for some reason, this is not, okay, it's up and running?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why that's not working for me, but all right. Is it from my screen or yours? Just last question, then I'll just start.
How about this? I'll just move the slides for you. Does that work?
Okay, that works. Thank you. Okay. So, and I'm waiting to see what slide we're on. And I just got a black screen.
Do you not see the
I cannot. Boy, okay. Hey, can we ask the audience if they see? Oh, there we go. I got it. Slide 2 is up. And I got it. Here we go. Okay. Slide 2 is up. Hey, here's what I got to tell you. I got it, Scott. Engineers produce amazing value. Do you see these pictures of Pluto? One picture is from Pluto from the Hubble, and the other one is from the New Horizons project that flew by. I was talking to the scientist who had been working, studying Pluto for a decade. When she got these pictures back, she just burst into tears. She went from this pixelated image to amazing context for what Pluto really is. And this is an amazing story. It's really great engineering. Let's take a look at what the engineering behind this is. Pluto is tiny. As you see here, 1,447 miles wide. And by the time New Horizons got there, it was going over 30,000 miles per hour. So it was going to go the entire distance of Pluto in less than 3 minutes. And it's going to be taking millions of pictures. To do this, they had to build amazing technology. And they had to fly across 1 billion miles to get there across numerous years. In fact, when this mission launched, Pluto was still a planet. A few months later, it got demoted. So this was really an amazing engineering. And I was blessed to be able to actually consult with some of the people on this project. When I was on an airplane flight, and one of the women sitting next to me was drawing these wide tangents, arcs on a piece of paper, and then drawing intersects across that arc and writing complex formulas. And eventually her paper was across my tray as well as hers. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she apologized, but I said, "No, what are you doing?" She said, "Oh, I'm responsible for firing the engines on the New Horizons mission." I said, "What if you're off by like 1/10 of a second?" She said, "I'll miss Pluto by 1 billion miles, 1 million miles. This is why I'm quadruple checking my math. I got to make sure this is perfect." And we are lovely blessed that she hit her mark. She got the engines firing right, and everybody on that mission did fabulous. Engineering is amazingly hard work, amazingly rewarding work, and it's just getting more interesting every year. As you know, software is already pervasive in our lives. You know, you wouldn't have known this 20 years ago, but you know, now software is in our toothbrushes. Software is in our cars. Software is helping our cars become more safe. Vast majority of the time. It's making airline flying more safe the vast majority of the time. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the problems we have, but really the engineering work is challenging, and the challenges that come with that are amazing. We really have to get better at the complex engineering solutions. We have more and more pressure on schedule. We have endless backlogs where there's more and more stuff people want from engineers, and they want us to make commitments when it's based on uncertainty. A lot of these things are in a new technical domain or a new customer domain, yet they want to know when we're going to be done. We want to have really good environments. We want to attract and retain talent, and we really want people to grow quickly in their careers and learn these things. And this is why we need exceptional engineers. We need good engineers too, but there must be some exceptional engineers. I'm going to talk about the difference. What I have found is, thank you for the introduction, Scott. I actually co-founded Exceptional Difference with Julia Mullaney, who was my mentor, and she's extraordinary as well. We have worked with clients around the world, as you mentioned, and here's a list of the people we've worked with. I've written books, and the extraordinary thing is just I've learned from everybody. I've learned from the people in the United States. I've learned from working with people like at NASA, from Oracle, from Microsoft, in Turkey and India, Egypt, etc. It's just all the things we learn from these people. And one of the biggest things I've really learned is there is a difference between the good, even great engineers, and the exceptional engineers. And what we're going to talk about today is really 7 of the keys that I see make the exceptional truly distinct from the good. So, hey, somebody from Uganda, welcome. Just a shout out to the entire audience here. Please feel free to put in the chat any comments you have, any questions you have. Just even if you say you want to argue with me, put them out there. I would love to see some chatter. I like to know people are alive out there. So let's get started. The first thing is, have you seen this? Have you seen engineers battling with management? I've been the engineer battling with management. I remember just, saying this schedule is impossible and arguing with them. I've seen engineers saying we're being killed by technical debt. We don't have time to make a good quality product. I've seen engineers argue with management over and over again, or arguing with each other. There's a root cause to these conflicts. They're usually missing something that really needs to start it all. Arguments really should be always go back to value, because what we're trying to do, we're not just trying to get a rocket going 33,000 miles per hour. The mission of that New Horizons, for example, was to expand the knowledge of our solar system, of our universe, to understand what this distant sister planet of ours is and what it's doing out there. And we found amazing things about it. When we're trying to build, the 737 MAX, it was really to really uplift the flight experience and the safety and et cetera. We're going to note later that they failed on that one, but the value was the important thing, the value for the organization, the value for the customers. All the arguments really got to start with value. We got to focus there. How is it useful for the customer? How is it useful for the organization? What are the benefits? How will the solutions be used? And how much do people enjoy using it? One of the things I really enjoy is the gaming industry, and I'll mention that later. Those are also really very high pressure environments. You don't think of gaming industries as having really tight deadlines, but they do. A lot of them are based on the revenue they make between Thanksgiving and Christmas. If they miss their deadline for Thanksgiving, they can lose millions of dollars. They lose jobs. So there is high pressure in those environments as well. So exceptional difference number 1 is this. Good engineers are going to fight for what's right. Exceptional engineers are really relentlessly focused on the value of the product, of what we're trying to do. That's the key. Focus on value. I'm going to go to the next one now, which is bad quality. We're going to talk about the next exceptional difference is really a focus on quality, but I want to be clear what that is. Let's start with what bad quality is. Bad quality is really, let's make a simple definition, where defects block the view of value. Talk about the game industry. I have multiple examples. The one on the screen here is Tomb Raider. That entire franchise was almost killed by one horribly bad release, where just software defects were so prevalent, the game was nearly unplayable. I have other examples where some games have been released and pulled back. One of the recent ones with Keanu Reeves, I've got the name of it now, but that was really plagued with defects, and they had to really patch it. Really lost a lot of customers that way. Then there's a tragedy, 737 MAX tragedy. It was a system failure, software failure, but also a very big cultural failure. In England, the National Health Services completely abandoned a 10 billion pound system, and majority of the problems were quality issues. Over and over again, these things hit the news. We have examples of that of the air traffic control system, failed systems. We have IRS failed systems, billions of dollars of taxpayers' money just lost. So What we need is to master the economics of quality. Good engineers really care about quality. The exceptional difference is where engineers really master the economics of quality. And this is where they have data that actually tells them how effective they are at getting a good quality product. They know what the cost of defects are getting out to the customer. They know the cost of defects that go into test. They know their personal responsibility. You know, I got to tell you, as a young engineer, I poo-pooed the data thing. And I thought I was a fantastically great, competent engineer. And I was pretty darn good. However, when I got my data, I wasn't the king. The mirror the data provided showed me as a pawn. Keep in mind, pawns can become kings, or can become queens or other things. Pawns are powerful, but the data showed me that I was not what I thought I was. I found out how many defects I injected, and no matter how hard I tried, the defect injections rate didn't change. And I really found that I had to do things differently to master quality, to master the speed, because quality turns out to be speed. The lower quality you have, the more defects you have, the slower you're going, the slower you're making the whole organization go. So what I have found is the exceptional engineers actually have data just like professional sports people. If you follow basketball, you know, the basketball stars all know their stats. Baseball, they all know their stats. Soccer or football, for those overseas, they all know their stats. These are the fundamentals of being an exceptional engineer. Have your data, master the economics of quality, such that you master speed. Anybody out there suffering from technical debt, please put some things in the chat, give some shout outs. I really feel technical debt is a plague of our industry. And there's symptoms of it. There's so many symptoms of technical debt. It's, do you feel like you're going slow? Does it feel like you're slogging through mud? Do you have where your system performance is degrading over time? Or do you have components and software that you fear to change because you don't know what'll happen in other parts of the system? Do you have team velocity that's slowing down? Do you have data to show that you're getting slower? Is competition catching you? Is it just losing the joy of work? These are just the reality of the situation in many organizations. And people are sad about this. And what they're finding, what I have observed in most of the industry, is the engineers are just coping with this. It's how things are. The exceptional difference is, do not cope with it. Take ownership of speed to value, because technical debt actually is slowing down not just your personal development, but the whole team's development. It's slowing down the ability for the organization to achieve its objectives. It's slowing down your speed to value. Take ownership. The really important thing is, checking my notes. Own it. That's the key thing. Own it. I have an example story here. And that is, in a minute I'm going to introduce, you can get this for free. Just email me or go to this website we gave you and put in your email. You can get the technical debt self-assessment. And and in there we describe the 7 types of technical debt in detail. I don't have time to do that here, but just feel free to get yourself a copy. One of the engineers I was working with was coping with technical debt. The story he told me was he had a component that was basically a Gordian knot. What do we mean by Gordian knots? Gordian knots, a symptom, it's just really a complex piece of software, even in a hardware system, that's just so complex it's difficult to maintain. A symptom of it is like if you make a change here, it breaks something over there. So I asked him, what is this costing your organization? Because again, technical debt, if you just yell to management about technical debt, what they hear is whining. If you talk about data, what they're going to hear is, oh, there's something going on here, something we need to fix. So I asked him, what is this costing your organization? He goes, every time we have to touch it, it takes us 2 to 3 team weeks to deal with the problems. 2 to 3 team weeks. If you fixed this, how long would it take every time you touched it? Oh, it should be 1 or 2 days. I said, that's amazing. How many times do you hit this every year? Well, various teams hit it, probably 20 or 30 times a year. So I'm saying, you're talking over a person year.
I found this on the web.
Is being lost to this. And he said, yeah. And I said, how long would it take to fix? He goes, oh my God, I've been living with this for 5 years. I think it would take a day or 2 to fix. Here's the key. Don't cope with it. Take ownership. And one of the first steps to taking ownership is know how much technical debt you have. So please, I really encourage you, if you work in software, if you have any of the symptoms, get the technical debt self-assessment, send me an email, or just download it from the web. You'll be excited. Happy to talk to you more about that. Number 3, or we're up to 4. Have you ever had a friend that you, if you schedule time with them, you know they're going to show up late? Have you ever had a friend that where you've scheduled time with them and if they don't show up early, you're kind of worried about them? I have both. And I think I used to be the late one, but now I really work hard to be at being the on time or early one. This is most customers, most managers think your projects are the first type of friend. They do not trust that when you give them a date, that's the date you're going to hit. Because the fact is, the data across the industry is most projects are late and too many projects fail. So we really need to make a difference here. And this gets to the next exceptional difference. And hello, Mexico and Canada. Glad to see people out there. Exceptional difference number 4. Exceptional engineers make commitments that they can keep. This is hard, but trust grows. One of the organizations I have worked with has been at this for 30 years. And this is through changes of technology, customer domains, technical domains, different tool sets, different project management methods. And they get better and better at making commitments they can keep. And the better they're getting commitments to keep, what they're finding is the higher their customer loyalty rises, the higher the trust customers have in them, and the more profit the company is making. And wow, we're really international today, Scott. We have people from Poland. Welcome, Poland. So we need to make commitments we can keep. Trust grows with every commitment, every project. This is hard, but it's possible. It's doable. I have many clients that have changed that around. I really enjoy this slide myself. The picture is a summary of who won the arguments made to management without data. It's usually been a knockout because, as Jim Barksdale said, if we have data, let's look at the data. If all we have are opinions, we'll go with mine. Managers win opinion battles. So let's go back to the technical debt one. The guy said if he just took a day or 2 investment in fixing this one component, he could save over a year of time for the whole organization, for every year thereafter. I asked him a couple weeks later, did you make the fix? He said, no, we're too busy. I go, what do you mean by that? He said, well, I talked to the project manager and he said, we don't have enough time for that. I said, you have to go back with data. Talk to him about the data. Once the project manager and the manager of the project manager understood, he was given more than a green light to fix that technical debt, which he did so in the very next sprint. He was given a green light to look at all the other types of technical debt and bring every opportunity to them. Data drives. Data is amazing. This is the exceptional difference. Value is your sword because what the technical debt said is, if I fix this, we can deliver more content to our customers. We can go faster. These are the things that are waiting for us to do. This is the value. This is the sword. Data is your shield. Why do you think you could fix this? Why do you think it'll save you this much? He had the data. He could show how much time it took and how much time went to rework, how much time was lost in design, and a simple prototype to show how much time would be saved. It was simple. Data drives conversations, drives decisions, etc. It changes arguments from arguments to be in discussions about the best way to proceed. Exceptional difference number 5 is data, and data drives. We teach something at the Exceptional Difference called the Exceptional Engineering Experience. And the foundation of this is these 5 keys. We call them the obligations of engineering, because these are the goals that engineers and management truly share. And typically they do not talk about it. They should. And with the Exceptional Engineering Experience, which is a 6-month structured mentoring relationship with a cohort of people, we change the conversations. So management and engineers are both focused first most on value. What is the value we're trying to achieve? Why are we doing this project? Why is it going to be useful to the customers? Why is it going to be useful to the organization? They get agreements on why quality is important, and quality is again related to the economics of quality. It's about the speed. The better we master quality and how to make sure we're getting to the fastest value possible based on quality is great. Third, take ownership of speed to value. That's where every person in the organization really should have the knowledge and skills to turn over every rock to look for opportunities for speed. If there's technical debt, how is it costing us, and what would it cost us to replace it? What's your, in the technical debt deep dive, one of the other offerings we have, we show people how to do a technical debt calculator, and they're able to justify the ROI for making these changes. Again, data changes the argument. Take ownership, make commitments you keep or beat. If you look at projects, if you consider all the benefits from finishing late compared to all the benefits from finishing on time or early, it's a silly argument. Making a realistic plan is the most important one. And that, of course, is still, as above all these things, based on data. This is what we need to do. Beware, just got to warn you. That was 5. There's 2 more. And these are not the easy ones. The previous ones weren't easy, but the next 2 are actually more challenging. Exceptional difference number 6. Good engineers, even great engineers, really are focused on their own domain. I've seen this around the world. They complain about their teammates, but they don't they complain about management. And they can be great engineers. They know their stuff. They mastered their craft. But the exceptional engineer takes on the mission of making those around them better. So if you master, for example, the economics of quality, you master taking ownership of speed, you have to bring your team with you. You have to bring management with you. You have to learn the skills to change the conversations, to get those obligations into their heads as well. And unfortunately, that's not easy. Because do you know what happens to the nail that sticks out? And often you become an engineer that's the nail that sticks out when you have these conversations. You get hammered. I had a poor young engineer that mastered the economics of quality in one organization. He went to a new organization where they didn't understand the power of doing good designs. They did not understand the power of inspections. This organization was one where they said, hurry up and get it to test so we can start finding the defects. This organization was one where firefighters were rewarded, where it was expected to rework. He went in there with these attitudes, with this economics of quality, and he was getting hammered. His teammates picked on him for being quote unquote slow to test. His manager didn't give him a raise or promotion because he was so slow at getting to test. And he was actually always the first one out of test. He was always the customers were happiest with his quality, but the organization wasn't changing with him. And I realized that was my fault. So one of the things we did is we created what we call the exceptional engineering experience. And this is to enable people to be able to actually go into organizations and help everybody around them get better. What you see here is 4 extra factors in this. And it's really about how do you make commitments you keep? How do you ensure that you master the economics of quality? How do you keep your whole organization focused on value based on data? But finally, and throughout the experiences, how do you make those around you better? One of our graduates really has done an amazing job. Initially, he was one of the nails that stuck out, for example, on the quality and on technical debt. But as he mastered these skills, management and engineers and team leaders around him started to come to him for advice. They were able to change the whole organization because one of our graduates was able to actually promote the economics of quality, to promote making commitments you keep, to change the arguments from arguments about details to arguments about value based on data and the best way to get there. It really was amazing. So it's hard, though it's hard. And this is why exceptional difference number 7 is this: choose the exceptional path. This is not easy. As I noted, when we start to change our discussions, change our behaviors that can be different from the culture around us, it's a challenge. And we need to be like Neo in The Matrix. If anybody's seen The Matrix, the red pill, blue pill, classic myth. You want to accept reality, or you just want to cope with how things are right now? Accepting reality is actually seeing what the cost of quality is, seeing what the cost of rework, seeing that the technical debt is, and it's not accepting it. It's taking the mission to make your whole organization better. It's not, we don't choose that because it's easy. We choose it because we want to be better. We choose it because we want to help the organization get better. We choose it because of the value that can be achieved. As I noted, we have a number of things that we can do to help if you're interested. We have the exceptional engineering experience. If people are interested in applying, yes, you must apply. We really want people that want to choose the exceptional path to be part of that. If you want to apply, let us know via email. We have deep dives, like the technical debt deep dive, quality deep dive, which are quicker and prescriptive and help you get a system in place for dealing with technical debt, dealing with quality, commitment deep dive, other things like that. We also, of course, have consulting and tailoring things, et cetera. We really love to make big impacts to help organizations achieve the exceptional difference. All of these add up in amazing ways. One of the things that is still true for me is I can vastly overestimate what I can achieve in a week. But we underestimate what the value we can contribute, the value we can achieve in a year, and amazingly underestimate what we can achieve in a decade. We have the power in engineering truly to make the world a better place. We have the power to help our teams be better. We have the power to be exceptional engineers. I'm thrilled that I got to be here and share these 7 keys with you, and I'd love to hear questions or comments.
Thank you, Alan. That was really great. Why don't we move to the next slide? Just so I know 1 or 2 people asked for your email, and this way they can see that, they can write that down. I know it was on a few of your slides.
Yep.
So yeah, we're at our Q&A presentation, or part of the presentation. So feel free to type in your questions. I don't see any questions at the moment, so maybe they're still sort of writing in. I'll start with to get us started a little bit. You said the first two are the hardest. Um,
No, the
is
last two.
that or like the last two? Yes, the last two. Um, is it just practice to? Is this sort of like what they say about learning guitar takes 10,000 hours to master? Is this just sort of practice? Is this you know being in that situation more? How do you go about go about it?
You know, that's a great question. Uh, what makes the last two the hardest, in my opinion? Uh, I got to tell you, it's not the 10,000 hours. It's it's hard because what you're doing is going against the grain. Let me make the distinction. You know, if you're going to learn how to play the guitar, well, you're going to have to pay the pain of getting bloody fingers. You got to develop those calluses, and that's what we're talking about here. Is what you're doing is making a choice to make your teammates better, as they might not want your help. If you're going to go up to management and talk to them about making a commitment you can keep, here's what you're going to face. I just faced this a few weeks ago. The senior manager said, what I'm hearing is you want to put fat in your schedule. So what the manager wants, the language he was putting across is that he wants the most aggressive schedule possible. He's expecting schedules with no margin in them, that they're the perfect schedule if everything goes perfectly. That makes sense, Scott?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay. So you see, there's cultures like that where managers are demanding schedules that are completely unrealistic, and then they punish people for failing. I've seen those cultures. And to change that culture is a challenge. And that's why I say the last two are the hardest, because what you're doing is taking not just doing this for yourself, but actually making a difference to your organization, changing your organization. And this is where you can hit this thing like the young engineer that went from high quality to bad quality. He started to get hammered because of his practices were different, even though they were better. Did I answer
Yeah,
your question?
and Alan from the chat, another Alan said going against the grain gives you vision. So thank
Absolutely. Going
yeah,
against the, yeah. And you to go against the grain, you better have vision. You better base that vision on value, because you really have to become more like a prophet and say, this is, I want to talk to you about a better way.
exactly. We have a question from Isam. Are there differences between engineering disciplines in terms of exceptional difference guidelines?
Thank you, Assam. Um, so engineering disciplines, I assume you mean like the difference between electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, hardware design, system design, software, those types of disciplines. Um, and you can type in your, if I'm right or not, but I'm going to go with that assumption. So first off, all these principles really are, well, some of the principles, there's not a complete overlap, but you can go back all the way to beer brewing in the 1800s. Beer brewing was actually one of the first places to introduce statistical process control, because they wanted their beers to always taste good. Good value, right? and but so there's some principles from a beer brewing thing. What we want is data to do that. If you look at the automotive industry, which was almost all hardware in the earlier century, Edward Denning introduced a lot of these principles, and that was about really getting good quality drives. We're now introducing these principles in the software world. The principles really do apply across all the engineering disciplines, because here's the fact: rework makes you slower. Design is always going to be king. AI can help us in all these areas. Other things can help us. but it always comes down to people, process, data, and technology working seamlessly together to drive to the best value for the organization. So, Assam, there's no differences in the keys. There may be differences in how we implement them for the engineering discipline and the difference for the culture of that organization. And this is where experience comes into play, where you make the choice, you're going to start to learn what works and doesn't, and you're going to keep refining that. But the critical keys are going to remain the same. How you implement them may change on that environment. Assam, did that answer your question, or does that give you new questions?
I don't want to speak for him, but he did confirm what you assumed on the engineering differences. So
I saw that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and he just
any questions from Poland or Uganda or Canada? Oh, thank you, Assam. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, we still have plenty of time, so send your questions.
Hey, I'm starting to get requests for technical debt assessments. Thank you for the requests. Keep them coming. Well, we might have a quiet audience today, Scott.
Yeah, I think if that's the.
Hey, let me ask a couple questions then.
Okay.
Anybody out there have technical debt that they want to talk about for a minute? For example, does anybody want to volunteer? Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, I guess not.
All right, I can do my closing comments if you like.
Oh, we still have Frank just came in with a question. What skills make a good leader?
Oh, terrific. I do highly recommend leading the unleadable. I talk about that there. And I forget which chapter 2 and 3, but I'll give you a quick answer. People usually think about good leaders in this way in technical organizations. Do they deliver on time? Do they deliver high quality, etc.? And given that I talked about those, but good leaders are more than that. The good leaders are actually really trying to create an organization and teams where people can do exceptional work. So I really look at measures of success for leadership to go beyond the classic quality, cost, and delivery. What I look at is how many people emerge from that better? How many people emerge from that as mentors of others? How many people emerge from your environment to be not necessarily managers, but opinion leaders in their other organizations? What I look at the most successful leaders being the exceptional leaders as spreading exceptional beyond their own bounds, where when people leave that organization, they make a change in the other organizations. One of the things I've learned is if you're looking for a good leader, or if you're looking for a good coach, look at their people. Their people are going to be a reflection on your leadership. They're going to be a reflection on your teaching, on your coaching. And if you see really good people there, you see people that you'd like to hang out with, people you like to learn from, you know that there's a good leader behind that. Did I answer your question, sir?
I think that's a great answer. We'll let Frank respond. And he actually had another question. He wants to know what is your definition of technical debt?
Okay, great question. There's two answers there. one is the formal definition that was created back in the 90s or early 2000s, I forget exactly. But the formal definition of technical debt was a decision consciously made to make basically a bad solution to get something out the door quickly. And that bad solution we're going to pay back later. That's technical debt. And they coined the word because technical debt is really the key, is you're putting in place a solution that's going to make you slow later. Technical debt has been expanded to actually mean anything that slows you down. That's just how it's treated in the industry. So the formal definition is still out there, but most people, including me, treat technical debt as, are there things slowing you down? For example, I'll even call really bad meetings technical debt. I've hit some organizations where I did an informal survey, for example, where on meetings, anonymous survey, and one of these meetings, 20 people attended every week. It took 2 hours of prep by every person. The meeting was 2 hours long. Everybody thought the meeting drained their soul dry, was valueless to themselves as an individual, valueless to the organization. The anonymous survey included the person running the meeting. This is technical debt. As soon as I got the survey results, they canceled the meeting. They were all shocked that nobody wanted the meeting. The team leader who was running the meeting thought it was because everybody else wanted it. Nobody wanted it. It was 100-hour wasted every week. Technical debt is things that slow you down. Sorry I went on and on. Did I answer your question, Frank? Oh, awesome. Thanks. You're welcome.
All right. And with that, I think we'll bring us to the end. Alan, you mentioned you have a final closing thought you wanted to go through.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we're all on a journey together, and we talk about engineering, et cetera. But what I want to say is, this is a lifelong thing, and I think we all have an obligation in the world to do good in the world. So I hope you do chose the exceptional path, but I hope it's not just because of engineering, but it's because we really want to make a positive difference to those around us and the rest of the world. And our good engineering is just a big part of that. So please go forth, do good in the world. And I look forward to talking to any of you in the future. And that's it.
All right, yeah, I like that message. Quick housekeeping items. We have first, I'd like to thank Alan for sharing his great insight with us and everyone for attending today. Just a quick programming note, we have 2 more webinars coming up over the next few weeks. We have one about 2 weeks from today on September 27th from our Standards Activities Board webinar series titled Data Center Network Standard, Enabling Data Center Fabric Convergence onto Ethernet. That's from the very well-known IEEE Standard 802. And then from this series, the Build Your Career webinar series on October 12th, we have how to be a successful manager as an introvert. And we will actually be having, we don't have all the details yet, but we look out for a webinar on October 3rd with a focus on women in computing, women in leadership, which should be a really great webinar as well. So again, thank you for everyone for attending. And I guess we'll conclude this part of the webinar. And Alan, do you want to stick around for your second half virtual chats?
Yeah, sometimes I like to hang out at the virtual bar afterwards, and we can sip a drink or a soda, and you can answer. We can just chat for a minute if people want to, or you can just take off. So let's hang out for 5 minutes and see if anybody wants to chat more.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, we'll leave this open. If you just type in any additional questions, and we'll cover them.
Yep, or comments. Sometimes afterwards, people like to just tell me their view of the world, and I love to hear it. You're welcome. So Scott, how you doing,
Yeah,
man?
I'm doing good.
We're watching for this. Yeah. So
That
this was
was a
fun.
great
I really
presentation.
thank you. I really enjoyed doing it. Um, and I really had fun with my marketing person putting together some great slides to make my talk look snazzy. so, so, have you had other talks about technical debt recently?
We have not. This is actually the first time I've sort of heard that term before. So, um,
Hey, maybe next year sometime. I'd love to go deep on technical debt. There might be people interested.
okay, yeah. And that's interesting that
That'd
it's
be
been
fun.
expanded to anything that slows you down, um, which
Yeah.
I which makes sense. But yeah, it was interesting to hear it, how the definition has expanded and grown over time.
Yeah, and I don't think you see the formal definition out there that way, but Urban Dictionary would probably have it that way, just to be clear.
All
So,
right,
yeah,
that's good to
yeah.
know.
Okay, I guess we needed to offer free drinks.
Yeah,
Although it looks like people are still in the room, but just nobody's talking.
yeah. A couple more people saying agreeing that I was thanking you for the presentation.
Yep.
I did find it interesting earlier. I'm not a big gamer, so I don't live in that world, but how the Tomb Raider ride just had a lot of flaws, and it almost killed the franchise. That was interesting to hear, but not, I guess, super surprising. But because I always thought that
Oh,
was a
yeah. No,
fairly
it's
fairly big game in that world. So
oh, it is. It is, and I did enjoy most of those games, and I agree that one was pretty bad. And there's other games out there. Just I have a lot of gamers in my life, and that really enjoy them. And I guess I won't. Yeah, well, what the hell? Sea of Thieves has really been a very innovative game. It's multiplayer. It's on the ocean. Really high tech behind this is amazing. And the initial days were amazing, but a lot of the long timers are not happy with it now. Not because of the value or enjoyment of the game itself, but because of the defects that keep coming out, just killing the gameplay. So they're flocking away from that game to other games because of the quality issues. And what's interesting about the game industry, if I may go on for a minute, is just what's interesting about it is we have made we've had coaching in teams there where we've had even it's hard to get people to master the economics quality to actually track their data in detail, but we've had creatives. What I mean by creatives is the people doing the graphics and the story and the things like that of these games. These are usually tattooed, goth dressed, really free kind of people. They're not your typical engineer. And they thought they would never record defects, but they did. They ended up really, really pursuing this because they found out that it was making their art better. It was making the storylines better. It was helping them produce a more valuable product. So it's just really fascinating to watch organizations change, even in the gaming industry. So, fun stuff. Okay, let's free people.
yeah, I was about to say. So anyone who stuck around, again, thank you, Alan. Thank you again, and we hope to see everyone at our next webinar. Have a good rest of your days.
Scott, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Alan.